All right. Can everyone still hear me, please? Sorry, I had to switch my audio source. Can everyone?
Yeah, we can still.
Yes, we
I
can.
hear you.
Right, great. Thank you for that introduction, Blessing. I felt on top of the world. All right, so it's a good avenue to be here with product people or product enthusiasts who would like to know more about product management. I'm aware that there are some people on the call who are probably just trying to transition. I heard a front-end engineer the other time talking about them wanting to transition. That's very fantastic. I'm happy to hear it. And although I'm curious to know why, I mean, a lot of people want to just be in that development space. They just want to earn their money in dollars and all of that. But you want to come and take a lot of troubles. Product management is a lot of voila or trouble, but this is not me being a gatekeeper. But I'm just wondering. I'm curious to know why. Um, okay. Hi, MB. All right. So yes, let's get into it. I'm going to be taking us through how to write a great PRD. But before I even share my presentation or before we get into it, I'm going to do some brief story of my life kind of thing. And yeah, really, I just want us to have fun on this. If you believe that you would be interrupting the talk too much, you can just drop it in the chat room. I have it constantly opened, and I'm going to be reading from the chat room. I'm just going to go with the assumption that everybody in the room, it's either you're a product manager already or you're in the product management space, you're aspiring to be one, or you're just a lover of product management. So I'm going to be, yeah, I'm going to be, taking that assumptions. And yes, Mitchell, the slides will be available after the call. Okay, so let's quickly get to it while we still can. So please let me know once you can see my screen. Uh-oh.
We
See
can
my
see your
screen?
screen now.
Nice. Thank you, everybody that responded. Okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to do a brief introduction about myself, my journey, and then I'm going to ask us basic questions before we dive deeper into the meat of the discussion. Great. So So let me tell you a little about myself so that we all know where we are all coming from. I mean, it's not like I graduated from a product management school for undergraduate studies. No, at some point we all transitioned. At some point, I also transitioned, right? So I just want to identify with people in the room who are still in their transitioning journey, um, and how I've been able to do one or two things. Um, so yes, so let's just have a good time. So about me, um, I mean, Blessing has said pretty much almost everything. Um, I hold a bachelor's degree in biochemistry to even start with, from Federal University of Agriculture, and majority of my life, all my life really, I've been in the banking and payments industry. And but currently, because I've been in banking and payments industry, I'm like, okay, so what's more fun? What's fun thing can I do again? And I'm like, okay, so let's do something fun. So I'm currently in the food business industry, where you can call hospitality industry. You can call it, we have some form of logistic and supply chain industry, but for the food business. So yes, I'm in that industry right now, trying to see how fintech can still solve problems in that industry. So yeah, so it's quite fun, quite. So yes, that's where I am at in my journey right now. So let's quickly look at the progression. So I carry everybody in the room along. So um, I have some form of funny history in my life. I left school in 2012, and I left school in 2020. I graduated from University of Agriculture. That's still. After 2012, I had the teaching job, so I taught chemistry or biology at the same time during this period. And during 2012 and 2013, I taught chemistry or biology, and after that, I was looking for a job. I know, so if there's some form of small gap here between October 2013 to September 2014. It's more like my I defined work phase. So I was looking for a job until the job came, quote and unquote, in um in September 2014, and I started graduate training program with Access Bank, and ended that. Then went ahead to become a relationship officer. This thing, forget. It's just the way to sugarcoat it. I was a marketer. That's what relationship officer means. It's just, but that's the official title. So yeah, then I went again to Fidelity Bank. Then again, I left Fidelity Bank when then during this time, this space between 2019 and 2020 was my transition into product management. All right, but because the title today, the topic for today is not my transition story, I just wanted to tell us that yes, I have a past, or I came from somewhere into here. All right, so product manager, still in the bank before I went on to InterSwitch and before I came to Vendease. So currently in Vendease, I lead the product team at Vendease. Okay, so that's enough about me. So let's talk about you now. And I'll take the next 5 minutes to, by talk about you, I mean, let me know where exactly. I mean, a lot of people I was hearing the people's expectations earlier, and somebody just said, oh, they want to just know how to write a great PRD end to end. I understand. However, I'd like to know, by show of hands, um, who, I mean, amongst us here, what is the major challenge that we have if you've tried to write a PRD before? Or is there a possibility that there's somebody in this room that doesn't know what a PRD is? Maybe we should start from that. If I would assume that everybody understands
Yes,
what a
so
PRD is.
yes, so I'm
Ah,
here.
which bit of the question are you saying yes to?
I don't know anything about PRD. I've been hearing about product manager. I'm more or less like a newbie. I've been getting this
Ah,
message often and often. I just say make I join today.
nice one. But Abisola, do you have, I don't know, you are a guy, but there's Abisola on your name. Should I call you
Yes,
Paul?
yes, call me Paul.
Okay. So, Paul, tell me, do you aspire to become a product manager?
It's a dream career. I actually googled about it and I fell in love about it.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
yet taking money for that step.
All right. All right. Cool. Thank you so much, Abisola. We'll take you one after the other. Hi, Adinda Mola. Kalima. Oh, good. Kalim. Sorry, I'll use your last name. Tijani. Okay. You said you've only been hearing about it. You've never written. You said you've only heard about it. You've never written a PRD. Okay. Um. So, are you a product manager or are you aspiring to be one? Kalim, like,
Aspirational.
I hope I didn't. Aspirational. Okay. All right, great. By the way, what's the pronunciation of your name?
It's Kalimullah, or for short, Kalim.
Okay, Kalim. I'll do Kalim. Thank you. Aspirational.
Thank you.
Um, Olamide says gathering context and different aspects of the product. The endless meetings and touch basing. Okay, that's a little bit different from how to write a great PRD. But as we go along, I'll touch base on that, Olamide. Um, David says he's heard about a tried writing one for a challenge, but more. Yes, there's more when it comes to product management generally. In fact, that one says is enough more. So Daniel Sanusi, I've tried to write, but the fear of getting it wrong keeps holding me out. No, please, it shouldn't hold you back. But that name Daniel Sanusi sounds familiar. But please, it shouldn't hold you. Let's no fear hold you back, please. We'll talk about it in the simplest term. Trust me, it's as simple as it gets. Sheyi says he has written one before, Shay says he has written one before. Where is it now? A lot of templates and theories about what should be included in a PRD. Yeah, yes, we'll try. We'll shed light more on that. Okay. All right. What times 1,000? Love to know about business requirement document also. Bankole was a business developer, transitioned to technology, UI, UX, written a PRD before, collaborated on one, but really want to see how it's done here and probably gain practical experience that can help. Okay. All right. Great. All right. So thank you, everyone. So there are like two categories of people: people who have never written a PRD or probably haven't even seen one before, and there are other people who have probably seen one, but they are not entirely sure. There are a lot of noises out there. They're not entirely sure of which one to go with the time. Um, thank you. I've written quite a number of them and gotten some from senior product manager, but their styles are very different. Mm, mm. Okay, so let me quickly set the tone to say that product management generally, there is no right or wrong answers. Um, it's not to say that it's vibes and inshallah, but there are really no right or wrong answers. You don't over sweat it if what product manager A uses for their PRD is different from what product manager B uses. Basically, it's as long as you're communicating, there are some key elements that has to be inside. As long as those key elements are present, don't stress yourself. That's the way I look at things. That's the way I look at life. Because if you look at Google today, templates yakma, like plenty. Haha will give you a template. This one will give you a template. Jira will give you a template. Confluence will give you a not just stress yourself. As long as there would always be template from now till thy kingdom come. And you would agree with me that product management is relatively new. It's now that people are paying attention to it. 10 years ago, it didn't used to be like product management like that. You could even call it business analysis, right? We didn't used to pay good attention to it. So there is really no, what's it called now? There's really no standard, if I could use the word, there's really no standard say you have to accept your organization as defined that this is template you have to use at all times, then by all means, please do. However, when it comes to real life situation, no stress yourself. As long as you have identified some key elements, right? Just roll with it. So let's talk about it, right? It's- so let's quickly talk about some things. What a PRD is for people who haven't been here, who haven't been in the field, or who haven't even seen any, and how to write one. Okay, so PRD is just a short form for a product requirement document. Um, Again, it's just a document. And what does it do? From the name, the requirement of the product, that is, you want a product, let's say WhatsApp. What do you want WhatsApp to do? What is the purpose of WhatsApp? You want to be able to comment. Maybe we should take it from here. Why do you want to write a document? Who should read that document? Who are the audience for a PRD? Maybe let's start from defining that. That would help you better. Again, majorly a PRD is an internal document that says it is used within the organization. It's a requirement document. It's that states the components of the software you want to build, that states the exact things you want to build, right? So it's a requirement document. It's an internal document. It's an internal property. It's even proprietary. In some organizations, you can't even share stuff like PRD out. It's a proprietary document as far as I am concerned. Now, it's a detailed description of the requirements of a product. Who can I call in the room? Let's see. Paul, since you said you have never even done product management before, Abisola Paul, you can unmute your mic. What's your favorite product? What's your favorite software product?
WhatsApp is still good. Everybody use WhatsApp now.
Okay. All right. So we'll take WhatsApp. In this class, we'll use WhatsApp. I mean, at least to a large extent, almost everybody uses WhatsApp. Okay, so we're saying a PRD is a detailed description of the requirements of a product. It set the cost for what you want to build and release per time. Now, you would agree with me when WhatsApp came out, maybe in 2010 or 2012, thereabouts, it didn't used to be as robust as it is right now. WhatsApp as a product has, gone ahead to it has grown and it has gone ahead to have new fantastic feature. In fact, today we have WhatsApp for business. In some other countries, we can even do payments. There's already some form of payment integration in WhatsApp. That is, you can even pay your client or your customer can even pay you directly from WhatsApp. Okay, so but which means that WhatsApp has grown over the years. So a PRD is it's just a document that details the requirements of the product. It basically talks about the value and purpose of the product. Now, Paul, what is the purpose of WhatsApp in a short, simple, and sweet sentence? Why WhatsApp? If you're a PM, if you're a product manager for WhatsApp, what would you say is the purpose for building WhatsApp? What problem is WhatsApp solving?
To bridge the gap to enable communication.
Okay, to enable communication. Simple and short. Thank you, guys. It's simply for communication, faster communication, instant messaging. Easily, I can easily DM, I can easily chat Abisola. Abisola can be miles away. Abisola can even be in Canada as far as I'm concerned. But yes, it would get it instantly. Before WhatsApp, before then, how did we used to communicate? We can go to the prehistoric times. That is, we can go back to before the internet days. Before internet came, we used to have these wired phones that we used to make calls. That you use is it what ITEL, what was that we use NITEL for? We used BBM at some point, right? BBM was around, correct. However, at that time, BBM was available on what's it called? On BlackBerry phones. Although BlackBerry eventually sold BBM as the instant messaging software, but at that time, WhatsApp was already gaining ground. Yes, we used landlines. We used what's it called? Text messages. Yes, I used to go. Yes, we used to go that year, right? But it was stressful. Would you agree with me? I mean, technology evolution started coming, but there was there are old people in this classroom. Okay, so there was there was that back then I mean, to go would use maybe 2G, so you could use your 2G phone. You have to see people who have come online, then they'll put you into go rooms. Very funny, but it was nice. It was fascinating for me, right? It was fascinating for me. But we believe that things could be better. WhatsApp came and made life easier, if you would ask me, right? Yes, we used emails, which that person may not even see until maybe the next day. It's not like now that everybody can have a smartphone. Before then, there were no smartphone. When I was in school, I had to go to cyber cafe to go and use Yahoo Messenger. Thank you. You see, people are holding this classroom. You have to go to cyber cafe. You have to buy one hour, maybe 120 naira. Very funny time. Very interesting times. You have to go to cyber cafe to buy time and use Yahoo and send emails, or you use text messages itself is luxury, because one text message that year maybe it was 20 naira, and 20 naira, like you couldn't even buy what's it called, airtime. The least MTN airtime you could buy was 750 naira airtime, and that was a lot. And they weren't even doing per seconds billing, it is per minute billing. It was just, life was hard. Basically, life was kind of hard. So for a PM like Abisola wants to introduce WhatsApp because he wants instant messaging, like the name connotes, instant. He wants to chat me and he wants me to see it immediately. Because at that time, the bedrock or the foundation has been laid. At that time, when WhatsApp was coming, we're already seeing the evolution or the introduction of smartphones in the market. at best what we had before was all these Java phone and all these our Touchlight Nokia phone. Then we started having Nokia Symbian phones. So those ones, started giving us ideas of, okay, smartphones are coming, so people could afford them and all of that. So those phones were already coming there. So now Abisola wants to solve a problem. Abisola has thought of WhatsApp, right? Sorry, Truth, is that for me? You said you suggest I go to the point. Is that for me? Okay. So WhatsApp was to solve a problem. We can see a lot of problems around. We wanted people to get messages instantly. We wanted people to solve, communicate real time, compared to people, the stress of you having to go to cyber cafe. So there was a lot of problem around. So in your PRD, one thing you want to make clear is you want to tell us the purpose. What's the purpose? What's the entire usefulness of this product? You want to tell us the purpose. You want to tell us what problem you're solving. If you can get, you're good to go. So it basically includes the value of your software or your product is bringing to the table, and it basically encompasses the purpose your product is bringing to the table. All right. Now that you have a purpose for it, you are the product manager. You want to tell us, by us now, the owners of the PRD. We're going to talk about the stakeholders or the people who you are writing the PRD for. Now, the people you're writing the PRD for, apart from, yes, you are the product manager, you have an agile team, that is the agile team of your developers, your designers, or your UI, the people who you would usually call your UI UX, but your product designers. You want to talk about your QA testers or your quality assurance engineers. You want it to also speak to your system architect. Okay, so let's quickly look at, now that we have an high level understanding of the purpose of your product, the purpose of your product, or the value your product, or the value your product is bringing to the table, or the problem you're solving. Now, it means so you want to then proceed to tell us the features. So now again, Paul, let's go ahead. You want to have instant communication, instant messages for people. What kind of features or what kind of functionality do you think that product should have? What kind of functionality do you think that product should have?
The start button, the end button, maybe
The start button. Okay. Go ahead.
The start button, the end button, the picture, maybe the gallery and the text message, and the font gallery.
Okay. So Abisola, look at your WhatsApp phone or your WhatsApp app today. What are the things you can call features in that WhatsApp? Abisola, can you still hear me? Or can somebody help Abisola out? What are the features?
Yes,
that
I
are
can see status,
okay.
call, chat, then videos, photo, audios.
Nice, thank you. Okay, great. Olamide is also writing some things in the chat. So let's assume Olamide wants to these are the things that Olamide wants to do. Product. She wants us to, I don't know if it's a guy, but please forgive me. Let me just use a common pronoun. They want us to have a share image feature, share contact, voice notes, and emojis. Okay, then somebody wants us to be able to chat. So let's take that. Now in your PRD, you also need to be able to define all of these things. You also want to be able to tell us, you want to be able to tell us that you want to break down the purpose of that product into features. The overall aching purpose is instant communication. Now, instant communication, that is, I want to tell Paul something right now. What are the features that are essential for for me to communicate. First things first, you should be able to type in some text. You should be able to chat. That is something like, I want to be able to see a keypad to say good morning or something. You should be able to chat. That's your number one feature. The other ones is, oh, maybe you want like Olamide had mentioned, you probably want to share images or you want to share contacts. Okay, so you want to be able to add attachments, right? That's another feature. Let's leave it at that. You want to be able to add attachments and you want to be able to chat. That is, use text or use text strings to communicate. Okay, so let's even assume those are the two things you even want to have to do at first. Okay, so you know the purpose. You have the purpose. From the purpose of instant communication, you've been able to identify or isolate two key features to aid or to facilitate communication, right? Like, so let's hold that by the hand. Also in your PRD, now that you have broken your purpose into product or the purpose of the product into features, you want to be able to define the success criteria. Now, it's not enough to say you want to build a product and you want your engineers to just get to work. If you do not define, if you do not define what you would call a success for them, then you don't have a product just there. So what do I mean? We'll still see. So basically, when you're defining success criteria, you want to have a goal and a metric. So for example, let's assume Olamide wants to lose weight, or Olamide says, Olamide's goal is she wants to read. I don't know if it's she. Forgive me. Olamide says they want to reduce, or they want to reduce their weight by 10 kilograms in the next 3 months. That's a goal. They want to reduce their weight, or they want to lose 10 kilograms in the next 3 months. That's a goal. That is, a smart goal. You necessarily need to start having metrics. Okay, so how do I track this? How do I measure this? So we're going to look at success criteria for your product. Also, you want to give us an overview of timelines. That is, so by this time, when should we have finished product design? By this time, should we have started the chat feature? By this time, when should we have started the attachment feature? What are the stories attached to that? Now, again, each of these elements one after the other. So, who are the stakeholders? One thing that we product managers, or one thing that we product managers make as mistakes is we're always overwhelmed, and we think that we have to do it all alone by ourselves. The truth is, you cannot do it all alone. The entire essence of product management is your people skill has to be very top notch. Usually, you're tapping into the knowledge of A, B, C, D, and you're aggregating all their knowledge, quote and unquote. Yes, you have your own knowledge, but you're basically tapping and aggregating all their knowledge and basically documenting it, so you're like the smarter person in the room. So you can't do it all alone. So let's quickly talk about the people whose efforts you may need, whose efforts you may need to write a good product to write a good PRD. Now you need, of course, you have to collaborate with your software engineers. You have to, if you have a solution architect on your agile team, that is fine. But there are times that some teams do not have a solution architect, and usually the most senior backend developer can double as a solution architect. If you do not understand anything I'm saying, please, I'm happy to take your questions, or you can leave the chat in the room. I would go back and probably just elaborate. You need these people. You need your Scrum Master. You need your quality assurance engineers. And so this, I'm going with the assumption that you have a full agile team. Full agile team in the sense that you have everything. You have everyone you need to make a successful product. Because you can't say you have front-end developers, but you don't have back-end developers, and you have QA, and you have a QA engineer. That is an incomplete team. Okay, so you need their collaboration in a way. Ibukolu, you have your hand raised. Is that a question?
Yes, I do.
Go
Sorry to
ahead.
cut you short. From what you just said now, does this mean you can't make a PRD without having a team?
You can. You can. Now, I'm going to walk you back a bit. Now, so this
Okay.
is this is an assumption that you are in an organization that have that you already have existing systems. Existing systems in the sense that, oh, you have let's assume you're in an enterprise organization. Let's say you're working in Microsoft. You're working in Microsoft, which means Microsoft they already have some systems on ground. They have software engineers on ground. They have a solution architect or somebody who understands the design of the system. So you may necessarily, it depends on the product you're building. When we go to our example, it will be clearer. It will be clearer. So for example, you want to build a product that necessarily you will need to verify identity, maybe identity card. You want to basically ask some people in the organization already, maybe your solution architect or software engineers, to say, do we already have a service in-house that is already doing this thing that we can connect to? Or you necessarily have to then look for a third-party service provider who would do this. The answers the answer to those questions would necessarily inform what you're writing in your PRD. So that's why at times you would, if it is in a full-scale organization, you would need to have some questions from these people. If it is a startup or an independent project, of course, you're your own in a way. Okay, so let's quickly go into what you need to have as components of a good PRD. All right, so I broke it down. Six these six items we're looking at, are you can't do without them. You can't do without them. That is, these are the six things that should necessarily be in your PROD. Not to say that other things are important. As you go along, again, the PRD is a living document. As you go along, you can easily add to them. Now, your background and strategic fit. So why do you want to solve a problem with WhatsApp? Why do you want to solve a problem with WhatsApp? You want to tell us, okay, because of WhatsApp, because there is no WhatsApp, 90 people die every minute. You just want to tell us the problem, hypothetically, you just want to tell us the problem, basically, that you want, the background and how it ties and how everything ties into the company's overall objective. Again, don't be too carried away with plenty documentation. It could just be a short and sweet straight line, because the people who are reading your PRD, usually they just want to get to the requirements. They want to get to the requirement. Okay, what problem are we solving? I understand the problem we're solving. Who are we building it for? I understand the problem, the people we're building it for. And then they want to know some specific things and go into the requirements itself. Okay, so that's your background and strategic fit. Also, who are our target users? So let's take for example, for this place, I've highlighted. I have a sample PRD that, but for that particular PRD, I put the example I have used is if you were building a marketplace product. So again, you want to tell us the purpose and your target users. That is, why are you building the product, or why are you shipping a new feature? Because if you've done your first launch, as time goes on, you probably want to ship a new feature. You necessarily need to have a PRD for that, or you update your PRD version 1.0, version 1.1, depending on how you're versioning, or you want to create a separate PRD for a new feature that you want to roll out. Okay, so why are you building the product? What problem does we've talked about it? You also want to tell us who your users are. Who are your target users? For a typical marketplace, there'll be a buyer, there'll be a seller, the demand and supply front of things. So you basically want to tell us who your buyers are. So for example, a Jumia, there'll be a buyer and a seller. For a Fiverr or Upwork, there'll be a client, there'll be a freelancer. Do you understand the pictures of marketplace? Do you also want to tell us, is there going to be an admin interface? Is there going to be an admin portal where an in-house user would log into and control things from the back. So you basically want to tell us, in your document who are the people who will use your product. Their success criteria, you want to tell us how we will know that we have completed a product. How are we going to know that this product is a success? Is it by the number of downloads that you would have in App Store? Is it by the number of registered users that we'll have per time? You just basically want to define some measures. You want to give us some metrics to say, oh, these are the things that we can use to measure that, oh, we're making good traction on our products. Then you want to talk about system specifications. System specification basically, so let's take a totally new product. You want to, and this one is particularly important for maybe back-end developers, because they want to understand how you're thinking. And this is mostly important for back-end developers and you yourself, because at the inception of every product, you need to think of scalability, you need to think of growth and expansion. If you're a product manager or your product is one that you're thinking, okay, in another 5 months or in another 2 years, we want to expand into other countries, maybe other African countries or European countries, you necessarily need to put that in mind, or at the best, that you probably don't even know where you're expanding to, but for the purpose of expansion of scalability, you want to put some things into consideration. So for example, let's say I'm building a product or a freelance marketplace, even though maybe it's even only for people in Lagos, but as time goes ahead, I see that, oh, people all over Nigeria want it. Then people all over Africa want it. I necessarily need to put into consideration that, okay, this product needs to be able to support multi-currency, because freelancers will get paid in Naira in Nigeria. The ones in Ghana will get paid in cedis. The one in Kenya will get paid in shillings. So you need to factor all of that in when you're putting your requirements together. You want to state it to say the system should be capable of to do A, B, C, and D. And it should be able to switch context between location and time zones. So each of those specifications is not for you to tell them how, but you're just basically telling them, this is what I want this product to be able to do. So whenever they pick up that document, they know how they would implement. The how is left for the developers or your other team or your product designer or your UX designers to figure out. But what you want to do is left for you to document. Now, also, apart from system specifications, we're far beyond time. Apart from system specifications, you want to tell us the user flow and the design. Now, user flow, this is one thing that is very important. User flow, basically, it helps to give a summary or a summary of what's going on in your product, or a visual. So, for example, you want to tell us the user flow of how a user onboards onto your product. What's the user flow of how do they get their, if it's a product that requires identity verification, how do they get their identity verified? How do they buy a product? How do they check out? How do you think of settlement? How do you think of reconciliation? To say, oh, my card was debited, but what's it called? But on the platform, it says transaction failed, but I was debited. So how do you handle disputes? You want to tell us the user flow for each of these kind of interactions. Of course, user flow and design. I put user flow and design together because design basically speaks to the mock-up, the high fidelity mock-ups that you want to present to the agile team or to the developers to say this is what you want to do. Now, this is another most important one, the requirement itself. Or of course, I'm assuming that every one of us were used to knowing what user stories are, what acceptance criteria are. So this is where in the tabular manner or in the tabular form, I prefer to have it in the tabular form. Then I'll show us the template I have. I prefer that in the tabular form, you highlight to say, oh, feature A, this is the user story. As a user, I want to do this so that I can do this. Then you tell us the acceptance criteria for that story in the tabular form. So before you know it, you're already having a full document, and you already have a full document, and minimum these 6 elements has to be present in your PRD. Before you know it, probably you even have a 10-page document. But as much as possible, you don't have to make your document very bulky. If it's going to be bulky, trust me, people will not read it. People will not read it, but well, some people will not read it, maybe not everybody. But as much as possible, you do not want a very bulky document, okay? All right, so I'm going to take a 2 minutes breather, then we'll look at a template. If you still have some questions, please drop them in the chat room. I will still be reading. So let's quickly look at a template document. Let me know once you can see my. Okay. Yeah. Let me know once you can see my screen. Can you see the templates I have here?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, we can
Great.
see your screen.
Great, thank you. So in this particular sample, it's we're looking at a marketplace, a freelance marketplace. So think of it as your file. So assume you want to build a marketplace. What name should we call our marketplace? Let's call it a marketplace X. So this is your background and strategic fit. So basically, it basically ties to how your product is positioned. The software you want to build is positioned or is tied to the company's vision or the business's vision, right? So if you notice, after you've said plenty of your stories here to say, oh, we have a freelance-based economy, blah blah blah. You're basically trying to tell us the business case behind why you're thinking about it. The concluding part of the document says XSS is positioned to provide an inclusive talent marketplace with. So basically, you're telling us this product. This is how it ties to the company's overall goals. The company wants to be able to build a talent marketplace with global operation and local presences. Our marketplace XXS would achieve that particular vision. So let's quickly talk about purpose. So purpose and target users. Now we've already talked about our purpose to say the purpose of this product is to solve. So now let's quickly even talk about the problem that is plaguing the continent. Today, a lot of people like you and I, a lot of people are already, going into edtech, or taking courses, wanting to transition to tech. I mean, that seems to be the order of the day lately. So which means there are a lot of people who have been armed with good skills, great skills. However, they are not the clients they need or the jobs they need are not being exposed to them, or they are not exposed to the appropriate jobs. Now, our product XXX is going to form a marketplace, creating a demand and a supply front of things. That is, clients who have job to do or employers who have jobs, they can come and post their job here. People who have just upskilled can come to that platform and register and find a job that is suitable. Clients can easily evaluate them and they get a job. It is solving a problem. It is solving unemployment. It's solving the headache of clients looking up and down, maybe using referrals or doing offline transactions, people taking away their money. You're probably offering payment security. So basically, you want to tell us the problems or the purpose of your product. You've told us, because if you don't tell me, I may not necessarily understand why I'm implementing the code I'm implementing. I do not know the problem my code is solving. So until you tell me, until you sell it to me. Now, so you want to also tell us your target users. Who are the expected users of this product? Of course, largely we would talk about freelancers. We will talk about the clients who are supposed to come and post jobs. You can even talk about ministries, agencies, other organizations that can come to post job. I mean, we see this happen on Fiverr, on Upwork. Now, you've told us our target users. So you would tell us your success metrics too. So your goal could be that, and this one we'll do this exercise together. If you have a goal to say, I want to the goal to, let's assume you have a goal to say increase sign up or increase adoption by 50% month on month. Let's even say this is a goal. Please, every month you want to have increased your adoption by 50%. Every month, maybe for the next 6 months or for the next 1 year, you want to increase adoption by 50%. What metric or what are the things you would use to measure this kind of goal? What will you use to measure this goal? Anybody?
Cost of acquisition.
Okay. Okay.
The rate of sign-ups.
Okay. Go ahead.
Rate of sign-ups.
Okay. I need you to be able to say it if you were to. Yeah, I love the cost of acquisition. I love rate of sign up. But I want you to say it as a full sentence. Inka's hand is up. Please go for it. Hello, Inka, you have your hand raised.
No, I have brought down my hand.
Hello, Inka, you
No,
have your hand
I have
raised.
brought down my hand. Don't worry.
Okay. Anybody wants to try? Okay. All right. I'm going to leave that. So, but basically, Michelle, please go for it.
The monthly subscriptions. So you the monthly subscriptions.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Number of successful transaction between. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Colleen. Caleb, I see your hand. Please, 1 minute. So let me quickly clarify some things. Michelle, monthly subscription will naturally point to revenue, right?
Yes.
So monthly subscriptions may not be a metric to look for. So for example, if I say have 500 million in revenue on a monthly basis, then you want to talk about subscription because that's where money is coming from. Am I correct?
Yes.
So that would be a goal and a metric that go hand in hand. And also, somebody else said something I've forgotten. But basically, I'm just trying to say, so for example, if you have a goal to say you just want to increase adoption, maybe you may want to talk about sign up rates to say, yes, it's good. You could have 1,000 guest visitors. However, how much of them are being converted to registered users? All right. So that's some form of, so if you have 1,000 guest visitors, what you may want to basically define to say every 1,000 guest visitor, maybe you want to have 700 of them. Well, maybe that's ambitious. Maybe you want to have 700 of them converted to registered users. Or so you may want to, as a product manager, to define that, okay, these are the you remember what it means to you remember what it is to create a goal. When we use the acronym the SMART acronym, my system is hanging. I wanted to write it. That SMART acronym that we know from when we were younger. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable, it has to be realistic or relevant, and it has to be time bound. Okay, so you want to, as you're putting your goals down, you also want to have a metric to measure each line item. So like Mitchell said, if I have a goal to say I want to eat 500 million revenue every month, then I want to look at subscription that says, oh, if it's 500 million revenue, my subscription could even be a basic and a premium kind of subscription. You may even want to split it to say, I want to have 500 premium subscribers on the app. I want to have 800 basic subscribers. That would naturally tie to revenue, right? So let me not stay too long on that, but basically those are your success metrics. Now, in your milestones, you would naturally insert your roadmap. You basically want to tell us, what do you want to do per time? What do you want to do? Do you want to give us a roadmap to, because it's also important that, and this is particularly important for Scrum Masters or the project manager you have on the project, they would necessarily know how to plan. So when do you want to introduce, maybe even the first 6 months or the first 3 months or in the first 1 month, you don't even want to introduce maybe the freemium version you want to put out. You need to necessarily tell us what are the things, how do you want to iteratively how do you want to iteratively grow the product. So okay, you want to launch the freemium version first, then as you go along, you want to include some more features that will necessarily not make you introduce subscription. You want us to know those things and what time you want to have it. So it's very important. Then let's quickly go to system specification and the last one, which is the requirement. So like I was trying to explain the other time, so maybe for the purpose of you want it to automatically detect location. So it's not for you to think of how, it's just your devs to figure out. So it's for them to know, oh, they want to collect, it's for them to now know, okay, at sign up they need to collect IP addresses, but it's not for you to tell them to collect IP address. But you just want to say, let the system be able to detect. So which means if I'm in Nigeria, when I log into my app right now, it is 701 in Nigeria. However, ahead in Kenya, it will be 901, right? When I get there, the app should automatically tell me. Or right now, I am it's 701 here. In Canada, maybe they are 6 hours behind. That's about maybe 101, right, in the afternoon. So when I'm in Nigeria at this time, the app should probably greet me, good evening, Oluwatayo. But when I'm in Canada, this same app should probably switch context to tell me I'm in Canada. It would naturally tell me, good afternoon, Oluwatayo. It's the same app. So you want to basically, tell you want to basically tell us that, oh yes, this system should be able to switch context. All right. So there are a lot of other sample of system specifications I put here, but for the sake of time, I won't be able to go through all of them. So you want to talk about currency, you want to talk about digital verification. Basically, if you're going to be using a third party, API, you want you also want to tell us that the system should be flexible enough so that you can integrate with third party services. Especially so if you want to integrate for payment services, you want to Flutter with, or you want to integrate with maybe identity pass or smile identity for digital identity verification and all of that, right? So I have a few examples of other specifications you want to think about. All right. You also want to talk about GDPR because the way you collect data is also very important. You want to make that very known on how encryption would happen on the system, because you don't want people's data to be flying around. So yes, that's on what's it called, system specification. This structure, availability, and recovery is closely tied to system specification. Basic stuff that the system should be able to recover from a disaster by itself if anything happens, basically. So of course, I'll share this template with Enova Lab, so everybody would get this template. So here is the requirement bit of things that I believe as we go along in our product journey, things will get better. So you want to tell us a feature. So let's say, what feature? Uploading attachments, because we talked about WhatsApp earlier. Let's say you want to upload attachments. If that is a feature to upload an attachment, so you have to tell us why, the benefits hypothesis, why is it important to the user, or why is it important to you as a business, or what's the description of that feature. Then what is the user story? Again, I believe that at least a good number of people will understand what user stories are and what acceptance criteria are. You want to tell us the story for that particular feature, or the stories to make or to complete that particular feature. Then if there are any additional notes we should know, you tell us the acceptance criteria, that is until, because this part is important, it's particularly important to the QA engineers, because they need to what's it called now? They need to write their test cases. They need to write their test cases such that whenever the developer is implementing, because what the QA would be looking for in their codes, they will implement appropriately. So there will be less and less rework. Rework in the sense that when the developer has implemented and the QA looks at it, if it doesn't meet your acceptance criteria to the detail, to the full stop, they wouldn't pass it. They wouldn't make it go into the next stage. They will just keep returning it until the developer does the right thing. So which means whatever you're writing here has to be clear and very clear. It has to be clear and concise so that the QA engineers can write appropriate or correct test cases out. So the next bit is user interaction and design, where you can have all the user flows and design. Basically, you have to insert your flowcharts. This is just an example of a flowchart. There are times you will see a more complex flowchart, quote and unquote, that is, there are plenty arrows dancing around. However, just basically to tell you to say you have to put a flowchart. This particularly helps your designers. They understand at a glance, okay, this person sign us up using email or Google or FB, then the person chooses something. So whenever they are designing their screens, they can easily know what to design. Of course, they also need the user stories to be able to understand it in details. They will be able to understand the logic for every of the screen or every of the action that the user is taking. Also, I prefer that you usually have the user flows in a flowchart like this for your PRD, as against you doing wireframe. Wireframe is also very important. However, I realize some product managers, especially new joiners, they find it difficult to it's taking time. Oh, they want to put this icon here. They want to put this. The old day is gone. Another arc that I use a flowchart to quickly represent what you want to do. If you are not very good at a wireframing tool just yet, what I do basically, and it is not crude, just so that you don't waste a lot of time. As time goes on, you don't waste a lot of time when you're trying to create a PRD. So as time goes on, you improve on your wireframing skills. So what I do, or what I advise people to do is, it's communication, right? Get a pen and a paper, draw what you're trying to think or what you're trying to do, put in a wireframe, draw it out, snap it, put it there. At least when you're doing your design sprint, your designer will get the basic picture of what you're trying to communicate. So if you're not very good at a wireframing tool, don't sulk over it. Use pen and paper and draw and, just snap and put. So it's just to be able to communicate. And that's the essence of agile delivery. You don't have to get things perfectly. Just get something to hit the road running. So yeah, basically, those are the 6 components that necessarily needs to be present in your PRD. Then I said you can embed your Figma link if your designer is done with it, probably a low-fi or a i5 mockup or a prototype mockup anyway. You can insert it in your PRD so that if anybody clicks the link, it just takes them straight to Figma or whatsoever tool they have used. You can insert a flowchart depending on the tool that you're using to write your PRD. If you're using Confluence, and some other people have Lucidchart or Glyphy in their Confluence work, and you can easily put together your user flow. So yes, basically those are the 6 components that you necessarily need to have in your PRD to have made it to make it very compact and very comprehensive to all the stakeholders that need to read your document. So this brings me to we are far behind time, but again, so this brings me to the end of our session today. I'll be happy to take questions right here and right now.
All right, thank you very, very much, Oluwatayo. It's been an amazing 1 hour, and we're just glad that you broke all of this down into, understandable pieces. And trust me, I believe that everyone here has learned a thing or two. So please, guys, if you have questions that you want to ask our speaker, kindly raise your hand, and please, I don't think we should be telling ourselves to be respectful when we want to ask questions or when we want to say something, because I believe everyone should know we are product managers, and one core skill a product manager should have is communication, and how to get your communication right and very, very respectful, right? So please, when you want to ask your question, either on the chat box or while you're raising your hand, please try as much as possible to be respectful. Thank you. So I'm just going to call on the hands that are open, that are raised now, so we can take the questions. So I'm just going to get them. Okay, we have so many hands open. All right. Let's have Daniel Sanusi. Daniel Sanusi, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Good evening. Tayo, how are you doing? My question is around the visa
Daniel.